So hello and welcome. This is part 2 of JavaScript in Adobe Animate. Part 1 is going to be in the description, and if you didn't watch that one, I would probably suggest you to go watch that one first. Right now I am in the Adobe Animate CC 2021, but this should be the same in all of the versions. So I am in the HTML5 canvas. I have created canvas which is 800 by 800, but you can go with any canvas as long as it is HTML5. So I am going to create some kind of shape like so. I will choose some kind of color and I am going to do something like this. Then I will click on the shape, I will go to the modify and I am going to hit convert to symbol. Make sure that it is movie clip. And you don't need to rename this, so you can keep this to be symbol 1 and just hit OK. So right now, if I go to the library, in the library I have symbol 1 and I can use it from here if I want. What is important is when I click on the shape, there is this instance name. And this is the name by which we are going to be targeting this with JavaScript. So I will just type, for example, blue1. Okay, right now what I want to do is duplicate this a few times. So I'm going to hold Alt or Option on the Mac, I guess, and just drag it like so. And one more time, and one more time, and maybe 5 times. And now what I want to do is change the names of these. So this one, I would like to be blue2. This one is going to be blue3. Blue 4 and the last one is going to be blue 5. Okay, fine. Now what I want to do is just double click on my layer and I'm going to call this to be blue shapes. You do not need to rename your layers, but it's a good practice. The next thing, I want to create a new layer. So I will click on this plus sign, new layer. I'm going to double click and I will call this to be code. Then I will right click on the first frame of the code layer and I am going to choose actions. Or the shortcut, very useful, is F9. And this is going to open me this text editor, and we talked about this a lot in the first tutorial. Okay. I would recommend you to go ahead and save your project because your animate can crash or whatever. But once you are saved, we can go ahead. So I'm going to type this blue1, and for example, I can type visible is going to be false. Okay, and if I write everything correctly, this one shape should disappear. So I will hit Ctrl Enter, and indeed it has disappeared. And you can do this for another one. So I can hit Ctrl D to copy whole line, and I can change this to be blue 2. And indeed, this is going to disappear. Okay, and we can do this for all of them. But as you can see, this is not very practical way to doing it like so. So I would like to show you how you can create some kind of loop to hide all of them at once. Okay, I will hit Ctrl Enter and they had all disappeared because I set all of them to be invisible. Okay, so now what I want to do is I will comment this out. So if you go with slash and asterisk, and then at the end asterisk and slash, this is going to comment you multiple lines of the code. Okay. So if you want to loop something, you need to have an array, and you are going to looping through the array. If you have some knowledge about JavaScript, you should know what array is, and if not, array can store multiple data, I would say. But it go like this. I am going to create a variable, and you can go with var, or you can go with let. The var is older version, older way of declaring variables, and let and const are the new versions, and I would like to go with let. But in this case, if you go with var or let, it is going to be the same. So let name of the variable. So I can call this to be blue shapes is equal. And when we have array, we want to have these square parentheses like so. And in this square parentheses, we can type something. So for example, we can have something like 3, 5, 7, and this would mean that we are going to have 3 values in here. Okay, but I'm going to set the actual values, and the first one is going to be this dot blue 1, comma. The next one is going to be this blue 2, and the next one is going to be this blue 3. Okay, and later on I am going to add all of them in here. Okay, so right now we have 3 things in here. We have blue 1, blue 2, and blue 3. And what I can do is I can type blue shapes, again the square brackets, and when we have arrays, this is like first element, second element, and the third element. But this first one has index 0. So if you have arrays, this is 0, this is 1, and this is number 2. So if I want to hide this one, for example, I would say blue shapes 0, visible is going to be false. And semicolons, by the way, are optional in the JavaScript. So I will hit Ctrl Enter, and indeed this one has disappeared. If I go ahead and change this to number 1, number 1 is this one, blue 2, so this one is going to disappear. Ctrl Enter, and indeed. And again, what you can do is duplicate this bunch of times, and you can set 0, and like so, and in this case, 3 of them would disappear. Okay. Again, I am going to comment this out, this little part, and we are continue. And I am commenting this because I want to provide you all of the code in the description. So right now we have this variable in here, and what we can do is go through for loop. Okay, so I can type for. I am going to create parentheses, and in this parentheses we are going to declare 3 things. We are going to declare a variable, we are going to declare some kind of condition, and then I would say another condition. You will see. So I am going to type let, or you can go with var, it's up to you. Let I, the name of the variable is optional, but usually people, when you are in the for loop, they use I, but you can use any name of the variable that you want. Is equal, and we will start to 0, with 0. We can go with other numbers, but we want to go with 0 because firstly we want to get this one, and this one has index of 0. Then we are going to set the condition, and we are going to say that E is smaller than 3. Because we want this to loop unless the I, not E, but I is smaller than 3. And we have 0, 1, 2. So in this case, this is going to be working. Then semicolon, and then I plus plus. So it means that I is going to be increased by 1. And I will explain this one more time in a second. And then this curly parentheses, and in here I'm going to borrow this code, Ctrl C, and I'm going to paste it in here, Ctrl V. And instead of the 0, I am going to type I. Okay, I will hit Ctrl Enter, and indeed they had disappeared. And basically it goes like this. The I is set to 0. And so the first loop is going to be blue shapes, I, which is 0, visible is going to be false. Okay, and the I is 0, the condition is I should be smaller than 3. It is. So this will be 0, and then I would be increased by 1. Plus plus means like plus 1. So then I is going to be 1, and 1 is still smaller than 3. So also blue shapes 1. This one is going to set to false, and then I is going to be increased by 1. So I is going to be 2. And I is equal to 2 is still in the condition that I is smaller than 3. So blue shapes 2 visible, which is this one, is going to be false. And then I is going to be plus plus, so plus 1. So I is going to be 3. And 3 is not smaller than 3, so loop is not going to continue. I believe that this makes sense. Okay. So now I want to show you in the console. I will hit Ctrl Enter, and I'm going to right click. I'm going to choose Inspect, and I will go to the console. And in the console we don't have any error. Usually when we have some kind of error, it is going to be here in the console. I can close this, and I will change this to 4. Okay, so this means that we are going to set blue shapes 0, 1, 2, and 3. But in the blue shapes, we don't have anything which has index 3. There is nothing. So I will hit Ctrl Enter, and I will right click and I will choose Inspect, and I will go to the console. And in the console, this I will refresh because the first thing was doesn't mean anything. But we have an error because there is like cannot set property visible of undefined, because we didn't define the blue shapes index number 3. Okay, so just for your information, then there is something like that. Okay, so now what I want to do is add all of them. So I'm going to continue, comma, this blue 4, and I will make this a little bit bigger, comma, this blue 5. Okay, and right now if I hit Ctrl Enter, these two are still going to be visible because we just declare them in our variable, but in the loop we have only number 3. Okay, so if we are going to have, for example, number 2, it means that only 0 and 1 are going to hide. If we are going to have number 4, and I believe that you understand this, only first 4 of them, and if we have 5, all of them are going to disappear. You can go like this, so I is smaller than 5, or you can go with I is smaller or equal to 4, which is basically the same as I is smaller than 5. Okay, so just maybe you will in some tutorials see something like this, or you prefer to do it this way. It's up to you. But I'm going to keep this to be smaller than 5. I think that it's maybe a little bit more readable, but it depends. Okay. One more thing that I want to show you is that if you ever watch some JavaScript tutorial, you know what console.log means. And very briefly, I want to show you that you can do also something like this in Adobe Animate. And console.log is like you can type something in the console. It's for us developers, and you can see some bugs or you can try some things. So I can type console.log, and I can just, with the parentheses, say hello. Okay, I will hit Ctrl S, I will hit Ctrl Enter, and I'm going to go to the Inspect, to the console, and in the console I'm going to have hello. And I can change this to 4, hit Ctrl Enter to make sure that this is still working. Because sometimes when you have error in the JavaScript, you are going to have an empty screen. And one thing that we can do, I can close this close this text editor, I can click anywhere on the stage like so, and go to the stage and change the color to some tint of the any color, so that we don't have the white color. And if I hit Ctrl Enter, I'm going to see at least some kind of borders of my canvas. So I will go back to my code. I will right click and choose actions, or you can just type F9 and it will open your code like so. So you can console.log hello. You can also console.log this whole array. So I can just type blue shapes, and I'm going to hit Ctrl Enter and go to the inspect, to the console. And you can have something like this, fail to load resources, blah, blah, blah. But if you reload the page, it is going to disappear. So that's not a real error. And in here, we can see that we have some kind of array, and that we have something in there. Okay. So like this. And what you can do right now is type console.log, and we can type blue shapes dot length like so. And I'm going to hit Ctrl Enter again, inspect console, and I'm going to have 5. And here I have array 5. I don't know why before it didn't show it this way, but length of the array is 5. Okay, and if I go to the animate, and I am going to get rid of this last one, like so, and I'm going to hit Ctrl Enter. Now my length is going to be 4, and this is quite useful. Or it can be useful, because what you can do is, instead of here writing 5, let I is equal to 0 and I is smaller than 5, you can replace this 5 with blue shapes length. And this is good because you can have multiple things in your array and you do not want to calculate them, or during your code you can add something or remove something from the array. So this can prevent you from some kind of errors when you have blue shapes length. Okay, and I will hit Ctrl Enter, and indeed it is working. You can type blue shapes length -1, and in that case the one would stay in here. Okay, like so. And I'm going to comment this out, and what I'm going to do is I will cut this and put it in here like so. I will create some kind of space, and I'm going to cut this and I'm going to paste it in here. Okay, so I will do this in this kind of sections, so we will know. So right now what I want to do is go with loops, but I would like to create even listeners for these shapes. So one more time, I'm going to create this variable. So I will just hit Ctrl C and paste it in here, Ctrl V. And now I will create for loop. So we can type this one more time. So for parentheses variable, so let I is equal to 0. And by the way, one thing that I would like to show you, and then we will go to the event listener. I will very quickly copy this and paste it in here. So basically we have the same thing as we had before. We have our array, and then we have our loop, and if I hit Ctrl Enter, all of them are going to disappear. And we said that let I, the variable I, is 0. But we can start, for example, with 1. which means that initially this blue shapes is not going to be 0, but it's going to be 1. So it will start from this one. So the first one is not going to disappear. So Control Enter, and this one is going to stay. And we can start from number 2, and it would mean that it would start from this one, because this has index 2, and first 2 would stay in there. Okay, so I just wanted to show you, maybe thanks to this, it would make a little bit more sense to you. Okay, so, but I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to write my for loop one more time. So let I is equal to 0, I is smaller, and I can go with 5, and I plus plus. Okay, so I'm going to do it like so. And right now I'm going to type the event listener. So I'm going to type blue shapes, E, not E, I, add event listener. Make sure that you don't misspell anything, because it can happen. Once I didn't have E in here, and I have something like so, and I didn't know why my code wasn't working. So make sure that you spell everything correctly. So add event listener. Then we want to add in the parentheses what kind of listener we want. We want to have click. And right now we have 2 ways. We can either call some functions from here, or we can create an anonymous function. And I would like to start with anonymous function. So basically, I am going to type function in here, parentheses for the function, and then curly parentheses for the body of the function. And right now you can see that we are starting to have a lot of these parentheses, so it can be confusing, and if you are going to miss one of them, it can be an issue. You would have error. But this one, the last one, is the friend with this one. Okay, so this is opening and closing the for loop. This one, the normal parenthesis is with this one, and this one is the body of the function. Okay, and so something like this. And right now in here I can say that blue shape E, and I want to say that visible is going to be false. And right now, if I didn't misspell anything, I'm going to have loop for event listener. And when I click on this one is going to disappear. And if I click on this one will disappear. So Control Enter, and I will click, and I have some kind of error. So let me see, console, refresh. Blue shape is not defined. Okay, and probably it's because I don't have blue shape, but I have blue shapes. Yes, so I typed this incorrectly, blue shape. It should be blue shapes. So you can see that JavaScript requires you to write everything precisely. So Control Enter, and now it is working. Okay, so this is one way. And again, I am going to comment this whole part out, and we will continue. So like this, and like this. And I can even type a comment, // it is for one line of the comment, and I can type in here like anonymous function, and something like this to distinguish it. Okay, and now again I'm going to copy this and paste this. I could have put this at the top, and I didn't need to duplicate it, but yeah, whatever. So I have something like this, and I will actually write it one more time. It's like good practice. So for quickly let I is equal to 0, I is smaller than 5, and I plus plus, and curly parentheses, and in here I want to have even listener. I can actually borrow some code from here, but you can type this if you want. So like this, blue shapes, I, add even listener, click, here should be parentheses to match this one, like so. And before, in here, we had an anonymous function in here. Oops, like so. And right now what I want to do is I would like to call some function. So I am going to type the name of the function, and then I'm going to declare the function. So I can type something like height shapes f, like function. Or you can use whatever name. I'm going to copy this because there is pretty big chance that I would misspell it. And while I am in the loop, you don't want to be outside of the loop. I will show you later on why, but maybe you already know. I'm going to create function, name of the function, and I will misspell even if with copying. So height shapes f, parentheses, curly parentheses, and I can get this line of code for hiding the shapes. Okay, so this is the same as this one, as this, but in here we have the anonymous function, and in here we are calling the function, and here is the function declared. Okay, I will hit Control Enter, and hopefully it is going to be working, and yeah, it is. Okay, the thing is that right now my function is inside of this loop, and that's why it is working. But if I'm going to get this function, and again this parenthesis is matched with this one, and this one is opening and closing the function. So I'm going to copy this, Control X, and I'm going to paste it outside. And the thing is that when you have for a loop and you have this variable I is going to be only for this loop. It is not going to be, you cannot access it from another place. Okay, so I am right now with this function outside of the loop, but I am trying to get the I from the loop, which doesn't exist outside of this for loop, this I. So this wouldn't work. I'm going to hit Control Enter, and yeah, and if I go to the inspect, probably there is going to be some kind of error that I is not defined. Okay, so I will put this back like so. And right now when I am back in the function, it is going to be working because we are in the loop. So this I exists in there. And the same thing is for variables. If I would have some kind of variable, let's say let score is equal to 8. When the variable is declared outside of the function, in something called main scope, you can access this variable basically anywhere. But if the variable is declared in the function or in the loop, it is going to be only for that function or only for that loop, and you cannot access this like the normal way from another place. Okay, so if I would set the variable in here, let score is equal to 8, and somewhere here I would have another function, I wouldn't be able to change the score or to get the score in here. Okay, so just for your information, this can be a little bit advanced topic, but yeah, something like this. Okay, now to do not confuse you, you can call from the loop function which is outside of the function. I can show you. I'm going to cut this and I'm going to paste this in here, but you cannot access this I. So for example, if I change this to 0, which is this one, okay, this would work. So right now we would have this even listener for all of the shapes. So we have our array, our for loop, our even listener for all of the i's from 0 to 4, and we are calling for all of them this function. And in this function, we don't have that we want to do something with I. We have that we want to hide this particular one shape. So I'm going to hit Ctrl Enter, and if I click on this one, it would disappear. But if I click on any of these, this one would disappear. Okay, so I can refresh this many times, and you can see that it is working like that. Okay, but I will cut this. I will put it back in here, and I'm going to change this to Y. And just make sure that it is working. Okay, so one more time, I am going to comment this out, and I will show you one more thing. Hopefully you are still able to follow along, and I will, hopefully this won't confuse you, but we were working with this a second ago, so I am going to copy all this part. Okay, so hopefully you understand this code right now. And what I want to do is, right now we had that if I click on this one will disappear. And if I click on this one will disappear. But what if I want to, if I click on this one, to make all of them disappear? And if I click on this one, to make all of them disappear. So basically, no matter on which one of them I will click, I want all of them to disappear. And we can do this by putting another loop in the loop. So you can have loops in a loop. And this may sound confusing. It may be confusing, but it can be also very simple. So here I have my loop, my even listener, and this would work for anonymous function the same as for calling the function. And here I have blue shapes, I visible is false. But in here, in this function, let me temporarily get rid of this. In here, I can create another loop. So I will type for, and I can go with let I, for example, again, it's completely fine, is equal to 0. Again, I want to have the same condition, I is smaller than 5, and I plus, and curly parentheses. Okay, so again, don't get confused. This one is with this one with this one, and this one with this one. And right now in this for loop, I am going to get the code that we had before. Okay, and basically this means that we are looping in here for even listener for all of them, and then for all of them we are calling this function, and in the function we are saying that we are again looping through all of them to make them all invisible. If you don't get it, try to check the code slowly and so on. I believe that it will make sense if it doesn't now. But if I hit Ctrl Enter and I didn't misspell anything, if I click on one shape, all of them are going to disappear. And I can click on any of them, and all of them are going to disappear. So something like that. Okay, fine. So I think that this is going to be enough for this tutorial. I do not want to make this longer because I believe that this last part may be a little bit confusing, and I do not want to make this tutorial too long. So in the description, I'm going to provide the link for part 1. And I also have some little bit older tutorials about if-else statement and also about little bit more advanced if-else. So I'm also going to provide that in the description. And yeah, if you watch this tutorial until now, let me know in the comment. It would really motivate me to create more tutorials like this. And if you have questions, suggestion, or anything, you can leave that in the comment. If you like this video, hit the like, consider to subscribe, and hopefully I'm going to see you in next tutorial. And I know that in these tutorials, in this one and in part 1, we didn't do much. I showed you just some concepts. But in the future, hopefully in the near future, I would like to create some kind of simple games with a little bit more advanced JavaScript. And in these games, it would be fine if you know these kind of basics. But yeah, that's all. Thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day. Goodbye.